If we continue just to yell at each other, to take acts of vengeance against each other, then there will never be reconciliation.
Tonight, the latest report on suspended Senator Lynn Bayek and her future in the Red Chamber.
CFS agencies will be able to refer more women to the Mothering Project, which further supports the shift away from the practice of birth alerts.
Manitoba moves on its promise to end the controversial practice of birth alerts.
The goal is to be able to protect our women.
And the Native Women's Association of Canada outlines demands of politicians and the police. Good evening, I'm Melissa Ridgen. The Senate Ethics Committee's final report on Lynn Bayek is now out. The Ontario senator was suspended over racist letters she posted on her website. But after the 5 Senate reports and more than one attempt at an apology, many are now asking, has Bayek finally got it? Jamie Pashagumskum reports.
In their latest report, the Senate's Ethics Committee recommends that Lynn Bayek be reinstated as a senator. A previous report said the senator was to write a letter of apology and undergo Indigenous cultural sensitivity training, which she did. The report says, your committee identified in its interim report that further and particular training for Senator Bayek was necessary to improve her understanding of racism against Indigenous peoples in Canada. Your committee believes she has engaged in the required process, was willing to learn, and did indeed learn. Senator Murray Sinclair is the chair of the Standing Committee on Ethics and Conflict of Interest for Senators. He says education is preferable to punishment on the path to reconciliation.
Our obligation to the Senate and our obligation as Indigenous people as well is to work to bring that knowledge forward to them, but to give them the responsibility of deciding what they're going to do with it and to see what they do. If we continue just to yell at each other, to take acts of vengeance against each other, then there will never be reconciliation.
Sinclair said the Ethics Committee is satisfied that Bayek has completed the required steps to be reinstated. He says written apologies need to be taken with a grain of salt. In her apology letter, Bayek said, it will be difficult to change entrenched attitudes and beliefs, but it can be done with love, communication, and respectful understanding. I have learned new ways of advocating that are tactful, compassionate, and respectful, and once again apologize sincerely and unreservedly for my hurtful actions and wrongful conduct. Bayek has 5 days to respond to the report. Then senators can vote on whether or not she is reinstated. Sinclair said the Senate would like to hold the vote once more senators have returned to active duty, as some have been absent due to COVID-19. Jamie Pashagumskum, APTN National News, Ottawa.
After a delay due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Manitoba government will be ending the practice of issuing birth alerts. That new policy will go into effect at the end of this month. Birth alerts are placed on an expectant mother once she gives birth. Child Welfare Agency is notified and the baby is often apprehended from the hospital. Today, the province said they are providing additional funding to a Winnipeg clinic for a preventative program called the Mothering Project. This initiative will connect up to 200 vulnerable mothers with health and wellness supports.
The Mothering Project and other supports available through public health, child welfare agencies, and community-based organizations put the focus back on supporting parents and families to be safe and well together in our communities. CFS agencies will be able to refer more women to the Mothering Project, which further supports the shift away from the practice of birth alerts.
Black Lives Matter has reinvigorated discussions around oppression and colonialism. And in one Nova Scotia community last weekend, a Mi'kmaq man took matters into his own hands. Edward Cornwallis put a bounty on Mi'kmaq sculpts in the 18th century. 2 years ago, his statue was removed from downtown Halifax. Now in Sydney, Nova Scotia on Sunday, following years of pressuring the city to remove a street sign with Cornwallis's name, Daniel Paul of Member 2 First Nation decided to take the sign down himself. But following warnings from police, he left the move to City Council. By Monday, Council had taken the sign down.
If I have to be the spark to light this fire, then I'm going to light it. Because I don't want my grandchildren asking me later on, if that sign was to remain there, how come this man's name is still here in the place of honor after having learned history about who he was?
Calls for the Ontario government have Indigenous representation on a new Indigenous Women's Advisory Council. They were answered over the weekend. Associate Minister of Children and Women's Issues Jill Dunlop was initially appointed to co-chair the council, but in a statement on National Indigenous Peoples Day on Sunday, Dunlop said Indigenous women must lead. Cora McGuire-Surrett of the Ontario Native Women's Association has been appointed as co-chair.
We have to begin the work and not get stuck in perfection paralysis. That's where the action happens, is by continuing to push forward, get the feedback, hear from the community on if you're going down the right road or not. But if the work that you're doing is based on what the community has said they want and what they need, therefore, your foundation's already laid for you. It's just a matter of us as leaders hearing that, what the community has said, hearing what Indigenous women have said, and actioning what they have said is needed.
Nunavut has spent $50 million in unbudgeted money since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. $24 million of that went to Nunavut's airlines. Eventually, they'll have to explain that to the Legislative Assembly, and our Kent Driscoll talked with one of the people who will be asking the questions when that happens.
Airlines are essential in Nunavut. Every community is a fly-in community. Flying's the only way to get there. You have to keep that in mind when you realize that the government of Nunavut has used half of their unbudgeted spending on COVID-19 to prop up airlines. $24 million so far since March, and counting. The government signed a non-disclosure agreement with the airlines to negotiate the funding so they could see the books. It's a very limited group that got to see the numbers.
As far as officials, I haven't even seen the information. We signed a non-disclosure agreement with the airlines to make sure they're a private business, and to get to this level of funding, we needed to have some comfort in that we're not, again, public dollars. We want to make sure that we're doing everything properly.
The way it usually works properly is that the regular members of the Nunavut Legislative Assembly ask questions about spending. Under Nunavut's consensus system, there are no parties. The regular members ask the questions. The Assembly is suspended until fall, and the Finance Minister doesn't expect to be able to share much with the regular members even then.
So at the end of the day, I don't see a value of politicians getting involved in that side of things. It's difficult when we're the ones making the decision on the appropriation, and it's very difficult for me to sit here, trust me, because I'm trusting the people that gave me the information. But this is a very unique scenario. And
the Finance Minister used to be a regular member. We asked him if he would have taken "trust us" as an answer from a cabinet minister.
That's a pretty loaded question. I guess it would depend on the circumstance. and I know, as I said, this is unprecedented, but there's also legal restrictions on what we can and cannot discuss. And I know it's putting a big leap of faith in me and in our government that we have put our due diligence into the review of the financials of the airlines.
John Main is the MLA for Arviat North, Whale Cove. It isn't that he doesn't trust the government. He just thinks he was elected to check their work.
The onus is on the government to provide us the degree of information that we're going to expect, and to be transparent with us to the greatest amount possible.
This fall, if everything goes as planned, the regular members will get to ask questions about the government of Nunavut's response to COVID-19 and the money paid to the airlines. We just have to wait to hear the answers. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Yellowknife RCMP have cleared their name after being falsely accused of assaulting a Dene man. Police say the attack on Benjamin Manuel didn't come at the hands of RCMP, but rather from two civilians who have been charged with assault. Earlier this month, Manuel told media he was beat up by police behind a convenience store. A dozen supporters were behind him as he shared his story in front of the RCMP detachment with a boot print still on his face. In a press release, police say they were called to a fight in a public park that same day as the alleged attack, and that they were unable to track down the victim at the scene but have since confirmed it was Manuel. The Native Women's Association of Canada is calling on politicians and police to take steps to, quote, end the needless deaths and assaults of Indigenous women, men, and gender diverse people at the hands of Canadian police. NWAC is asking for all frontline officers to be equipped with body cameras. The organization also wants to see non-violent apprehension of suspects who are not brandishing firearms, and for some duties currently performed by the RCMP in response to mental health calls, for those to be turned over to social workers, elders, and health professionals. President Lorraine Whitman spoke with APTN earlier today.
To protect our women. To protect our women, that's one area that we can protect our women, our girls, and our gender diverse. We don't know what's going on when they do their inquiry, when they do their investigation. It's within the forces. And if there were a camera that were on them, we would know. We would be able to see what truly happened. And the investigators, and it should be an independent investigator, not within.
A warning, this next story contains images that some viewers might find disturbing. The RCMP is facing new allegations as a BC nursing student in Kelowna has filed a lawsuit claiming she was assaulted by a female officer during a wellness check earlier this year. Surveillance video obtained by CTV News shows the Mountie dragging Mona Wang through her apartment building after her boyfriend called police saying that she was in mental distress. Wang alleges the officer found her in a state of semi-consciousness. It appears the officer picks up Wang by her hair and drops her head to the ground and later puts a boot to her head. The RCMP claims that Wang had taken pills and was a danger to herself and others. They also deny that Wang suffered any injuries. A mom who battled child welfare for 11 years to get her kids back, she's launched a $7 million lawsuit against the agencies. I'll tell you all about that after the break. First, here's the weather for tomorrow in the east and the central parts of Canada. Starting off on the east coast, we've got 30 and some rain for Fredericton, sunshine and 29 for Charlottetown. Nain, 9 degrees, mostly sunny skies. Kuujjuaq, 15 and sunshine. Montreal, 25 with showers. Gaspé, 27 and sunny. 25 with some showers for Ottawa. Toronto, 24 with cloudy skies. Lots of sun in Sioux Lookout, 25 degrees. Kapuskasing, some rain and 11. The Pas, 26 and sunny. Same with God's Lake and Churchill. 28 and sunshine for Winnipeg, 29 and sunny in Dauphin. 30 with some showers in Regina, 28 and showers in Saskatoon. Mix of sun and cloud and 22 degrees for Buffalo Narrows, 26 and lots of sun up in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. A group of men in La Ronge, Saskatchewan have been meeting once a week to hold talking circles and help the community. And now they're welcoming a younger generation into the group. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has that story.
This is Christopher Morasti. He founded the group Men of the North, a group where men can talk openly. But during the pandemic, the group began delivering supplies to those in need.
We started here in January and we kept consistent. We're doing our weekly meetings every week, showing that we're there to support the men in the community, as well as now we're starting to get involved with the young men in the community and helping them, showing them better positive lifestyle choices.
One of the new members is 15-year-old Anthony Icebuster Thompson.
Just about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, Chris asked me if I wanted to join the Men of the North 60-yard challenge, so I accepted, and now ever since we've been doing, every couple days, him or someone comes to pick us up to go do 2 yards, maybe 3 yards a day.
Morasti says they are cleaning 2 yards a day in the community, and the goal is to have 60 yards done by July 20th. Then the youth will earn a canoe trip. This past solstice weekend, the group put on a sobriety walk in La Ronge.
Yeah, at first, it didn't look like many people were going to show up, and then after a while, you could see people supporting us on the sides of the streets and honking their horns, cheering us.
Anthony likes being in this men's group and says taking part in this weekend's sobriety walk was something that really touched home.
Well, to me, it was really important because a lot of my family members are alcoholics or have had problems with alcohol in the past. And my dad, he was a big alcoholic before he passed away a year ago.
His father died of suicide linked to his addiction over a year ago, and Anthony sees the benefits of keeping busy and sober and having a safe place to share his feelings.
It's fun. Also, there's meetings every week that you can go to get your mind off things, because as society says, be a man instead of showing your emotions. So going to this, you can get your stories off your chest and hear other people talk about their stories as well.
The group Men of the North will keep up their meetings and community work with the youth for as long as they can. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, La Ronge.
A woman who battled for 11 years to get her children out of child welfare care has launched a $7 million lawsuit in Manitoba against the agencies she says took and kept her children, despite no wrongdoing on her part. APTN has previously reported on the mother, known as Twitter Mom, who took to social media to share her battle and won her kids back. Her lawyer, Catherine Hensel, joins us now from Toronto. So this lawsuit is against several Manitoba child welfare agencies and alleges that they essentially labeled this mother as unfit, despite never suggesting that the children were in danger of harm or neglect by her. It seeks $7 million in total from these agencies and the government. What else is important for people to know about this and why this was filed?
Well, there's 3 things. One is that the family, it's going to take these children and their mother the rest of their lives to recover, and future generations will still be recovering from what happened to the family for the last 12 years or 13 years. So the lawsuit's part of that, to address it, to help them seek closure on it, and hopefully to resource it. But even more importantly, from the family's perspective, and certainly mom's perspective, is to prevent this from happening. Mm-hmm. It's an everyday occurrence in our lives, in our communities, and in our families, that there's child welfare intervention in a way that would be extraordinary and unacceptable for non-Indigenous people in Canada. So to deter that kind of unnecessary intervention. Mm-hmm. Nobody's arguing, we're certainly not arguing, the family is not claiming that where children need to be protected, mm-hmm. and need to be kept away from their parents to be safe, mm-hmm. and to be healthy, that ought not occur. But it didn't need to occur here. It really didn't. The claim outlines, mm-hmm. and it ought not to have been. So in bringing a claim and seeking damages, that's one of the ways in Canadian law and Canadian society you prevent it from happening to other people.
Mm-hmm. We do stories about this sort of thing happening all the time here at APTN. A child welfare system that seizes and keeps Indigenous kids on little to no grounds. Why don't we see more of these lawsuits?
it's an uphill battle in law. First of all, it's an uphill battle to get lawyers to engage on it. The legal profession has not done a great job in responding to families who need this kind of assistance, whether it's in the child protection proceeding or in civil suits, consequent civil suits. And you know, the state of Canadian law reflects that. It's going to be an uphill battle for, particularly on behalf of parents, to get damages, no matter what's done to them, to families, to parents. Canadian law has this assumption that it's only the children's interests and safety that the agencies can focus on, and that's correct. It should be that certainly the children's interests and safety needs to be prioritized.
Has anybody ever successfully sued a child welfare agency?
Yeah, the 60s coup. Well, that was Canada was the main target on that, but children have sued. Adult children have sued agencies, and parents with some limited success. But it is an uphill battle, and the resources are completely uneven as well.
Well, we will certainly be watching this at APTN to see how this unfolds. Thanks so much for joining us to discuss this very important $7 million lawsuit.
Thank you.
Time for another break, but when we come back, the artist behind a new Indigenous emoji. And here's the rest of tomorrow's weather for the west and the north. To northern Alberta. 23 in sunshine for Grand Prairie, 26 and sunny in Fort McMurray. Red Deer 19 with sunshine, 29, it's some cloud and showers in Medicine Hat. 21 and rain for Vancouver, 22 and rain for Victoria. Fort Nelson 22 and sunshine, Dease Lake mostly sunny at 18. Whitehorse sunny and 15 degrees, but rain and 15 in Beaver Creek. Fort Simpson 24 and sunshine, Trout Lake 23 and sunny. Mix of sun and cloud for Fort McPherson, 11 degrees, same with Inuvik. Baker Lake, sunshine and 22, Arviat, 11 and some showers. Tally-Oak, mix of sun and cloud and 13 degrees, Clyde River 9 degrees with mostly cloudy skies, and Cape Dorset, mix of sun and cloud and 6. Welcome back. In honor of National Indigenous History Month, Twitter has released a new Indigenous emoji. This is the third year the social media site has done this. The initiative started in 2018 with a turtle emoji designed by First Nations artist Chief Ladybird. This year, Inuk artist Aya Kumanapik created the emoji. Dennis Ward spoke with her earlier.
Thanks for taking some time for us here today. Can you tell us how you became a part of this Twitter emoji project?
Hi, what happened was I was actually contacted by a Twitter representative on Instagram, actually, and she asked me what I would like, if I would like to be a part of the project that she's been doing with other Native artists across Canada. Like the first woman was Chief Ladybird, and I saw what she was doing with the other emojis, and I was like, oh, that's an amazing thing. I'd love to do that. So yeah, that's why I started it.
Pretty cool. The emoji is of an Inuk person. What was your process for designing the symbol?
Well, basically, I first saw Chief Ladybirds and the other previous artists who did it, and I thought their emojis were very beautiful, but they were like, I guess, very serious. And when I saw the way they made it, I thought, oh, I'd like to make something, you know, cute and happy, because I think that's kind of what emojis are, and I wanted to like encapsulate that in what I did this year.
Nice. You're the first Inuk person to take part in this project since it was launched in 2018. What does that mean for you?
Well, I just was really happy to have that opportunity, and I'm thinking maybe it would have other Inuit people after me being able to have these opportunities too. And I'm just very happy that they decided to incorporate us in this kind of thing, you know?
Absolutely. Well, very cool. Appreciate you taking some time to tell us all about it here today.
Okay, thank you too.
You can unlock the emoji by heading to Twitter and sending out a tweet with the hashtag Indigenous History Month. Well, we're all out of time for your news tonight. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks, of course, for tuning in. You have a great night.